would like to know how it is that you came to be with the idea of creating a summit, to have all these speakers on board, and what's the original uh, impetus or inspiration behind it for you?
Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan. So I think it was around 2 years ago. I had this kind of vision, idea of interviewing all these different people, and that it was going to be really powerful and it was going to be amazing and it was going to be transformational. And I think I'd been doing yoga, and I told my girlfriend, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be doing all these interviews and da da da. And wow, oh my gosh. And I don't know what it is. And she goes, oh, I think it's a podcast. I was like, what's a podcast? Like sometimes I live under a rock, because I've got 2 kids and running a business and always busy and stuff. And I just don't know about things. And I was like, what's a podcast? And she explained to me what a podcast was. And I was like, oh gosh, it sounds like I'll be doing podcasts in the future, and it kind of was just like that. And then I went to the States and I interviewed Anna Dea Judith and I interviewed a few people and I was like, actually, maybe it's more like this, but I didn't even know what summits were or what they were called or anything. And then recently, when I moved to Sweden, I started to take my business online and I started to, be educated about what a podcast was, what a summit was. And it was kind of like dominoes. They just went doot, 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 doot. And I started to realize more and more as I had been interviewed on other people's groups and stuff like this that, that's what it was. It was this. So, because I'm an oracle, because I am psychic, sometimes I have premonitions, but I don't know exactly what they are until they start to unfold. And so this is part of my awakening journey in itself to do this summit. And it's all, just, it's meant to be is the short answer. Is like, it's just the next thing that I'm meant to be doing, my soul path purpose work. So it's really, really exciting. This was the other thing,
No, it's
Jonathan.
all good information that you're sharing in this. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is I really felt like people need to understand what's going on, like what the awakening is about. And this summit and all the people that I've interviewed really ground it in a way that it can be understood in many different ways. Like the questions I've been asking, like, what does the goddess mean to you? Everyone says something different, yet there's a thread that connects it all. And I think, I'm going to cry, but I think that's what's needed. Is a lot of people feel really lost. They feel scared. They feel angry. And, a lot of people are uneasy about the awakening and the shifts because these shifts are shaking everything up. And so I feel like that's what the summit does is it's like a lifeline.
Thank you for your sharing. I think it's so beautifully put, and I think a lot of people will be able to connect with that, what you've said, and really sense the sincerity behind your words and where you're coming from in offering this to the world. It's so important at this time that we find balance and we reconnect with ourselves, reconnect with the world, reconnect with each other in the ways that the goddess traditions have represented. So thank you for doing this, for being on the forefront of bringing people together to bring this summit together.
Yeah.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And you've or I've heard you say a number of times that this, you see this in a bigger picture as really a part of a movement, as a part of a greater happening, not just specifically pulling a few people together to share some ideas. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's, I feel a bit like you when I asked you what the goddess means. I could talk about the movement of the awakening for another hour, but I know we only have a few minutes. But yeah, definitely. I mean, this is definitely a movement that I feel, and I always have since I was a little girl, that I came here to help planet Earth. And like you, I'm an activist too. And when I heard that we were destroying the rainforests, I got involved and did a petition to help save the rainforests. And so I really know at 46 years old how important it is to help in any way that we can. And so by me bringing, all these amazing, powerful transformational leaders, healers, activists together, it's all of our voices being heard. It's all of our particular brands of magic going out there and awakening consciousness. So awakening the within, which is my summit business name, is awakening within. And then awakening the goddess within is awakening that feminine and energy and getting back to the earth. And so everyone that is a part of this summit in one way or another is awakening consciousness and is awakening our connection to our tribal roots of being part of this planet and going out and bringing all that magic to awakening consciousness. And so, yeah, this is a movement. This is definitely a movement. And it's just been magic. As you know, Jonathan, I have had, these connections with everyone that's been part of this summit has been so deep and so profound and so magical, and things just lining up like it's definitely meant to be. And an example, like a tangible example of that, so I don't just sound so woo-woo and out there, is bringing it to the reality of me going, okay, I'm not going to have men on the summit. It's going to be all women. And then I go to check my email, and it's a dear, beautiful soul client of mine from New Zealand. This is a beautiful carving that he made me, actually. Oh, I love him so much. And he sent this email that really stirred inside of me the realization and the awakening that sometimes the men get left behind, and that this movement, is having the masculine and all of us that connection to the great divine and to the healing of the planet and each other. And so I had this deep realization from the email that I got from him. No, men have to be included. I have to get in touch with Jonathan. I have to get in touch with Neil Donald Walsh and all these, particular people that I had in mind. And then I got the message from Neil saying, yes, I would love to be part of this as well. And then you came on board, and it was just like the dominoes, magically lining up that reflect back to me of how powerful, like, what I really realized is that this summit is bigger than me. Like, the vision that I have is a microcosm of the macrocosm of what needs to happen. Yeah.
And I really loved the way in which you included the story from your childhood about the rainforest, and really bringing it to a practical level, not just in speech and in ideas, but what we can be doing now practically with our investments. Speak a little bit more about that. And I think there was something else involved that you were contributing towards.
Yeah. So I wrote and illustrated a children's picture book called Own Baby, Child of the Universe. And when I created that book, it's a new paradigm superhero for kids. And it was also a vision of mine. I made sure to walk my walk, talk my talk, and I could have made it and made a lot of money, but what I did invest in was I paid the extra money to have it printed with soy inks on recycled paper. And I planted a tree. I paid for someone to plant the trees, but a tree was planted for every book that was made. And, one of
Beautiful.
the little sayings in there is Own Baby Plants Trees. And I thought, well, Own Baby really needs to be planting the trees. Like, Own Baby recycles. Well, obviously, the book needs to be printed on recycled paper. And all of that cost me quite a bit more to do. But for me, it was about the ethics, the morals, the values, all of that is so important. And so for me, it's really important to be walking the walk, talking the talk. And yeah, part of the movement, for me, I'm very passionate about the rainforest. So Pachamama Alliance is someone that Anadea put me onto. She contributes part of her proceeds every year to the Pachamama Alliance. They're a really great network. They're honest. They're doing some amazing things for the planet and for the indigenous cultures. And so, yeah, the proceeds will go to all the affiliates and all the speakers, as well as paying for my costs, because I need to honor my time and my energy as well, because it's quite a lot of energy and time to create.
Definitely.
But I'm not doing this for profit. I'm doing this for a movement, for a purpose, for awakening consciousness. So in the same way of my ethics and my morals and values around creating Own Baby, I knew that I needed to funnel that money into Pachamama Alliance. It makes me feel good. It feels like I'm doing my part. And this is the whole reason for this summit, is to come back to the earth, come back to Gaia. Like, what can we do? And that's something I can do. And so I'm really, really excited to be doing that, as well as giving some of the proceeds to Women's Refuge, which is an organization that helps women that are at the bottom of the bottom, women that have just left an abusive marriage and they have nowhere to go and they have no money and they're struggling, and so this summit is also about empowering women. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and it really shows that you have so much integrity in going into this, and not just making a product that sounds good, but that actually does good. And in this way, really walking your talk. And I can really relate to with that relation to the rainforest and really being the lungs of the planet. And here, as I've been sharing on this summit, the importance of the breath and working with the breath and the vitality, it really is a macrocosm, microcosm. And so I think that anybody who sees this and sees the sincerity of your work and what you've done in bringing people together, and what you've done in setting up the proceeds that go beyond the speakers and your basic needs to help programs that are helping the planet, could really get behind this and make a investment with good conscience. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Anna Judith is one of my teachers, and she talks about how, in her book, she's got a book called The Global Heart Awakens, and she talks about how there's no kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Coincidence that the lungs of the planet are burning, and then with coronavirus, that it's affecting our lungs. Like, this is a huge wake up call for all of us. And it's a big wake up call. Like, we are in the awakening, and not to put people into fear, because, I don't want people to go into fear, but being aware of the importance of us reconnecting to the earth and doing our part and what we can is of the utmost importance. And so, I feel like I only have the option to walk my walk and talk my talk. Like, that's where I'm at. And and I mean, there's so many reasons to do this, but the other piece is, a lot of people are struggling, and this is going to give a directory of all these amazing healers, womb healers, heart healers, spiritual awakeners, like all these different teachers, healers, guides, bringing that visibility not only to them, but connecting them to the world so that everyone can get the help that they need and the support that they need. And so that's why I'm creating a website, and this summit is going to live there as a directory, a resource of support, because, one person will maybe connect to me and go, oh yeah, Schamet, I want to do your priestess training, or I want to do your belief coaching. Somebody else may not be attracted to me at all and be very drawn to you and your mindfulness practice, right? And then another person will be attracted to another person, because it's all about alignment. And so the more visibility and, the goddess rising up, that's part of this summit as well, is that visibility and that support, that outreach going out into the world, so that people have that resource and that lifeline and that support. So I'm very excited.
It's a
Yeah.
lot to be excited about here.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for interviewing me.
Yeah.
It was very
Thank you for,
spontaneous. I'm like, hey, you want to interview me? I'll talk about it. We were talking about this when the computer was
yeah,
not on record, and I was like, let's just record it.
that's great. You have so much to share. So it's wonderful that you have the limelight, and you can really speak about the things that are meaningful to you, why you have done this, and just the bigger picture, what's going on here. I think it's well worth hearing, and so I'm glad that we did this, and I'm glad that you've taken the time to share with the rest of the summit, the really behind the scenes with Schamet.
Thank you. Thank you so much.